Okay, welcome back to math class and welcome to part 2 of 10-8. Yesterday, in the first half of 10-8, we learned the standard form of the equation of a circle. If you remember, it looks like this: r squared equals x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. This is the standard form of a circle. And what we learned yesterday was how to take a graph and find the equation, or how to take the center and radius and write our equation. Today we're going to do the opposite. We're going to take an equation and figure out how to graph it. I think the best way for us to do that is for me to just walk you through an example problem step by step. So here's the example problem. It looks like this: x squared plus y squared plus 8x minus 14y plus 40 equals 0. Now that's a pretty long equation. The first thing you should notice about this equation is that it's not written in standard form for a circle, because we don't have our x minus h squared or y minus k squared. So the very first step of graphing a circle is to get our equation from wherever form it's in into our standard form. To do this, we're going to have to remember all the way back to Algebra 1 and factoring. And we're going to complete the square of our x's and y's. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to subtract 40 from both sides so that I get just my x's and y's over here. Minus 40, minus 40. So I get x squared. Also, as I rewrite it, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to group together my x's and my y's. So x squared plus 8x plus y squared minus 14y equals negative 40. Hopefully you're tracking it. I subtracted 40 from both sides, so this canceled. And then I just flipped these two so that our like terms will be together. To finish this equation, to get it into this, we have to do something called completing the square, which should be something that you learned in Algebra 1. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split both of these. I'm going to split this equation into two halves. I shouldn't have used absolute values symbols, that might be confusing. To complete the square, I'm going to take whatever value is in front of x, and I'm going to say divided by 2 squared. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. I'm going to add that number now into my equation. So I'm going to get x squared plus 8x plus 16. I'm going to do the same thing with the y. I have minus 14 here. So I'm going to go minus 14 divided by 2 squared. I'm going to get negative 7 squared, which is just 49. So I'm going to get plus y squared minus 14y plus 49. Now, I can't just randomly add 16 and 49 into this side of the equation unless I also add it to the other side. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So over here, I'm going to get minus 40 plus 16 plus 49. Now the reason I completed the square on this side is because now I know that x squared plus 8x plus 16 fits the form that we learned in Algebra 1, which is when I have x squared plus 2 times x times b plus b squared, I can rewrite that as x plus plus b squared. This is a factoring rule we learned way back in Algebra 1. Okay, so I'm going to take this now, and I'm going to go x plus 4, because that's the square root of this, squared, plus y minus 7 squared equals negative 40 plus 16 plus 49, which is going to give us 25. Okay, I know that was a lot. If completing the square is something you need help on, feel free to reach out, or go back onto my channel and look at the corresponding video for Algebra 1. It'll be in the Algebra 1 playlist. Now that we've got our equation in standard form, though, we can move on with graphing our circle. So step 2 of graphing our circle is, once this is in standard form, I can find my h and my k. So my h looks like it's negative 4, and my k is 7. The reason being is that my standard form is x minus h and y minus k. So y minus k means our k is 7. X minus, since I have x plus 4, this is essentially like x minus minus 4, because two negatives make a positive. Now that we've got the points for our center, what we can also find with our standard form equation is our radius, because we know that it equals r squared. So if I take the square root of 25, I get 5. And so I know that my center is negative 4, 7, and my radius is 5. Now we have all the information that we need in order to graph it. So I'm going to make myself a coordinate plane. I'm actually going to move it over just a tiny bit so that we have enough room for our whole circle. Okay, so I'm going to start by plotting my center point, which is negative 4, 7. So I'm going to count over to 1, 2, 3, 4, and down to 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So my center point is going to be at negative 4. Oh, I counted to negative 7. What am I doing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, so 4 and 7 is going to be up here. Okay, negative 4, 7. That's my center point. What I'm going to do next is, since I know my radius is 5, I'm going to count 5 spaces in every direction from my center point so that I have 4 points in each direction. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one point that I know will be on the edge of my circle. I'm going to count 5 this way. I'm going to count 5 up, 7, 8. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. I'm going to go 5 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you've drawn your graph with evenly spaced plots, or you're using graph paper, that would be better. Then, once you connect these dots, you should have a fully formed circle. And don't just make a straight line, because obviously then it would be a quadrilateral. you're going to kind of sketch your circle around. Not the prettiest, but it's a little easier on paper than on the board. Once you've connected your points, you're done. You've graphed your circle. So the hardest part of this is getting your equation into standard form, and once you've got it in standard form, you plot your center, and you count your radius. You should be able to do that pretty well.